All right, so the next step is let's actually have the flashcard syncing up with the settings buttons. So if we jump into a flashcard, we can see that the English is first and there's an image. So let's update the display. So in the flashcards page, go to card display. And the first thing is we need to be able to listen to the settings notifier. So let's wrap this consumer in another consumer, and we'll listen to settings notifier. Okay, I'm going to open up the arrow here and turn it into a block body. So the next thing is we'll create some variables so we can update the display, and these will be based on the different options. So the first one, set English first. So we want to be able to read the value from the settings notifier. So notifier.display options, and then all of the entries in this map, and the first where this condition is met. Import here, English first. And we want to return a bool because the value is true or false. So dot value. And this should be element dot key equal to the settings dot English first. So cycle through this map, and the first element that meets this condition, there's only going to be one element, will return this value. Okay, so we return that, so we have true or false. So now we need to update the UI. So this is card 1. So this is the first card. So this is the card we're looking at the moment. So we can create a condition here using the if else and the spread operator. So we can write if set English first is true, and we can then use the spread operator, 3 dots, and return this list of widgets. So cut this and paste this in here. So if English is true, we'll return these widgets here. Otherwise, else, we can use the spread operator again, and then return another series of widgets. So if this is false, we want to return some different widgets. So we want to return the Chinese, so build text box, and instead of English, we'll change this to character, and then we need to add the pinyin. So pinyin down here. So now using the if else statement and the spread operator, we can return this list of widgets or this list of widgets, depending on whether set English first is true or false. Now we need to update card 2. So using the same idea, let's cut this here, paste it in the first block. So this will run if set English first is true. So that's the default setting. Then else, we can copy this, paste this in here. We can keep the image. Instead of the Chinese character, we'll change this to English for the text, and we don't need the pinyin. Okay, so we now have this condition set up based on set English first. Let's test this. Let's change show English first to false. Okay, and we have the Chinese now first. Flip that around and the English is on the back side. Let's fix up the UI a little bit. So on the first card, I want the Chinese characters to be a little bit more prominent, so I can increase the flex value, which we've added in here. So we have 1, let's update that to 3. Okay, cool, so that looks a little bit better. And overall, I think it'll look better if we increase the padding. Let's put in 28. Okay, cool. So we now have the first variable working. We can then update the second variable. So final show pinyin, and we can just copy this code here, paste that in, and instead of English first, show pinyin. So now where we have the pinyin, we can just use the ternary operator here So show opinion true. If this is true, we'll return this. Otherwise, let's return a sized box. Okay. And we can do the same thing down here. Copy this, paste this in, change this to word 2, add a comma here. Okay. So let's hide the opinion. Cool, so now we have no opinion. Let's go back. Let's also set show English first as false. So we have no opinion here and the Chinese character is first. Cool. Let's jump out. Let's reset the settings. Cool. And then we're back to the start again. All right, perfect. So this is looking good. The final condition is if we want the audio only mode. So we can write final, audio only, copy and paste this here, and audio only. So now let's update the UI. So here we want 3 different outcomes. So I'll change this else to an else if, and then we'll create an else. Okay, so we've got 3 sets of widgets that can show depending on the conditions. Now, because audio only, if that is true, we don't care about set English first. So to avoid any conflict, if they are both true, I'll put set English first as the default down here, and I'll make audio only the first condition. So therefore, if audio only is true, we don't care about these conditions running. All right, then here, I'll add in a TTS button. So we have this updated. So 3 potential outcomes. And down here, we'll do the same. We'll change this to an else if, show opinion, add an else, cut this here, paste it in, change this to audio only. So if it's only the audio on the second card, let's show everything. So I'll copy this and paste it in here. So we can have the pinyin and the Chinese and also the English. Okay, so if audio only is true, on the reverse side, we'll have the image, the English, the Chinese character, and the pinyin if that is turned on. So let's run it. Let's turn test listening on. Okay, 冲浪板. So this is surfboard. Cool, and we have surfboard.
冲浪板贝壳
贝壳. So this is seashell. Awesome, so this is working. Exit. So as mentioned before, if test listening is true, we shouldn't be able to change show English first. That should be disabled. So let's update the settings page so show English first is disabled when test listening is turned on. So we'll go back to the settings page and I'm going to open this up into a block body and I'll create a variable and we'll set this to display options. So we want to find again the first where the element dot key equals settings dot audio only, and we want the value. Okay, so if this is true, we need to update the switch button for English first so it's disabled. So let's go into the switch button, Control B, and we'll create a variable and we'll name this disable, so it's of type bool. And we'll make this a parameter up here, this disabled, and we'll set that to false by default. So therefore, we only need to pass in the value when we actually want to update it. So now here, where we have this method run, we can disable this. So we can put here, if disabled is true, then let's return null. So in effect, we're going to return nothing, and therefore this code can't run. We can also update that thumb color from red. So inactive thumb color, let's set that as, and we'll put with opacity, and we can do the same with the tile color. So again, disabled as a condition. We'll do the same here, but we'll make it a little bit more subtle. Otherwise, we'll put this colors dot transparent. Okay, so let's go back to settings page, and we want to pass in disabled and audio first. So when audio first is true, this button will be disabled. So let's run it. Okay, so it's now disabled because test listening is on. Cool. So we can now disable that button. So we can't change it, and that makes it a lot more logical. Another touch up to the UI is I want to add in some faint divider lines in between each of these buttons. So let's jump back to switch button, and I'll wrap this in a column. And therefore, I can use the divider widget under, and we'll make this relatively subtle. So a height of 1, and we'll put a thickness of 1 also. Cool, so now we've got some subtle dividing lines in between each of these options. Let's also do this for the bottom buttons. So settings tile, wrap this with a column, and here we'll put it on the top. Put the height and thickness to 1. Okay, cool.